Time is that paradoxical resource that we all possess in equal measure, 24 hours a day, and yet we experience it in radically different ways. Time management, far from being that dry discipline of planners and to do lists that many imagine, actually involves a profound existential reflection on how we choose to inhabit our finiteness. Every temporal decision is, in essence, a declaration of values, an act of self definition that reveals what we truly consider worthy of our limited existence. Modern physics teaches us that time is not the uniform river Newton imagined, but a more elastic and subjective dimension than we suspected. Studies in cognitive psychology demonstrate that our perception of time speeds up or slows down depending on multiple factors: the level of mindfulness we exercise, the novelty of experiences, and even our emotional state. This perceptual plasticity suggests that managing time is not simply about organizing hours, but about cultivating certain states of consciousness that expand our subjective experience of temporality. In the contemporary work environment, where the culture of urgency seeks to constantly hijack our attention, true temporal mastery takes the form of conscious resistance. Research by Professor Leslie Perlow of Harvard Business School reveals that professionals who implement disconnection rituals, untouchable blocks of time dedicated to deep work, not only increase their productivity by 35%, but also report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction. This phenomenon challenges the myth that more hours equal better results, pointing instead to a nonlinear relationship between time invested and value generated. The central paradox of effective time management lies in the fact that, to save time, we must first invest it in planning. As Dwight Eisenhower observed in his famous Matrix, urgent matters rarely coincide with important ones, yet we tend to systematically sacrifice the latter on the altar of the former. Neuroscientists explain this tendency as a failure of our limbic system, which prioritizes the immediate resolution of stimuli perceived as threats, urgent deadlines, unanswered emails, over more significant activities with less immediate pressure, strategic planning, continuous learning. Digital technology, with its promise of efficiency, has complicated this landscape rather than simplifying it. The myth of multitasking has been debunked by numerous studies showing how constant shifting of focus can reduce our productivity by up to 40% and temporarily decrease our IQ by points equivalent to a sleepless night. The illusion of doing more in less time hides the cognitive cost of this constant fragmentation of attention. Eastern philosophical traditions offer refreshing perspectives on this contemporary challenge. The Zen concept of ichigo ichi, one encounter, one opportunity, emphasizes the importance of fully inhabiting each moment, while the Buddhist practice of mindfulness resonates surprisingly with scientific findings on the benefits of monotasking. These millennia-old perspectives converge with modern scientific discoveries in recognizing that quality over quantity matters more in terms of outcomes and well-being. At the organizational level, the most advanced companies in time management have understood that the clock is not a foreman but an orchestration tool. Companies like Basecamp have implemented calm work policies with only 4 hours of meetings per week, while Google famously reserves 20% of the work time for self-directed innovation projects. These experiments demonstrate that when people are freed from the tyranny of the constant stopwatch, not only creativity, but also genuine engagement flourish. The ethical dimension of time management deserves special reflection. Every yes we utter necessarily implies 1,000 no's to other possibilities. The German philosopher Martin Heidegger conceptualized time not as a series of discrete nows, but as a field of possibilities that open or close with our choices. In this sense, managing time becomes an exercise in existential authenticity, where we progressively sculpt the masterpiece that is our life through successive choices of attention and intention. The antidote to contemporary temporal dispersion might lie in what psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi called the flow state, those moments of complete absorption in an activity where subjective time seems to suspend. Contrary to intuition, we do not reach this state by fragmenting our attention, but through its sustained immersion in challenges that perfectly balance skill and difficulty. Cultivating these flow experiences perhaps represents the most sophisticated form of time management, as it transforms scarce resource time into a space of fulfillment. Ultimately, mastering our clock does not mean controlling every minute, but reclaiming sovereignty over our attention. In a world designed to constantly hijack it, this skill becomes an act of resistance and self affirmation. As Annie Dillard wrote, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. At this simple yet profound truth lies the core of truly wise time management, the understanding that time is not what we measure with clocks, but what we experience with full awareness and clear purpose.